All right, welcome back again, and now we're picking up where we left off. We just went out to find the taxi cab driver that the Lord said would be there who speaks English. And here is this man who comes forth out of all these taxi cabs, and he speaks English and says, "Can I help you?" I said, "Yes." We get in the car. Now, this is like 10 o'clock at night. Yeah. We get in the car, and he turns to us and he says, "Okay, where can I take you? Where's your hotel?" I said, "We don't have one."
We don't have one.
He says, "What?"
He stops the car. He turns around and says, "What? You don't have one?" He said, "This is a small village." He said, "People get their reservations here a year in advance." He said, "There's nowhere. There, if you don't have one, there's nothing."
There's no place for you
and
to
he goes,
stay.
"And you've got 2 children." He goes, "This
Oh
is
my
not
gosh.
good. This is not good." Boy, and he was all worried. And Christy, it's so cute. My little 8-year-old leans over to me and says, "Mommy, he obviously doesn't know God."
Yeah. So the taxi cab driver, remember the Lord said, the taxi cab driver will take you where I have for you. And so the taxi cab driver is sitting there going, "Where do I take them? Where do I take them?" He says, "Well, do you mind going into a town 5 kilometers away called Hohenschwangau?" And we're going, "Hohenschwangau?" And he goes, "Yeah, it's down by the castle." And we go,
"Castle?
Castle? What castle?"
All of a sudden,
"Oh, it's Sleeping Beauty Castle. The one that Disney created, the Sleeping Beauty Castle of. It's the real castle."
It's the real
and
one.
I have a brother-in-law or a brother that has a pension there, a little bed and breakfast place, that maybe he might have a room. Let me see. So, okay, fine. So he drives us there. He has us wait in the car. He goes in, talks to his brother, and he comes out. He says, "Okay, my brother will give up his room and one other room so you can have it for one night." So our girls had a room and we had a room. And we go into the room and we're thanking the Lord for at least a place to stay. This is a place that God said He had for us. And we open up to go out to the balcony, the shutters or the doors to go out into the balcony, and there's the castle.
it's all lit up. It's literally right across the street from our room. And there's this huge castle just completely lit up. And then we start going, "Okay, Lord, you're here. This is so special.
You brought this.
Who would think in a lifetime we'd get to be here to see this castle?"
So now we've got to get something to eat. So we see a place that's still open, and we go to get some food. And now, in my unbelief, going, "Okay, well, this is good for tonight, but it's just one night. What about tomorrow night? It's Saturday." And so I look across the street and I see this hotel down the street a bit. And I said, "Stay here, let me go down there and see if they have anything for tomorrow night." I go down there, and this lady is very nice. She does speak some broken English, and she says, "Well, I don't have any rooms for this weekend. We're completely full. The only thing I have is a large family room." Well, we need a family room. Now, she's just looking at me, so she didn't know I had other people. I said, "Yeah, my family's here across the street eating. Yeah, we would love that for tomorrow night." And so we said, "Okay, great." So I think, thank you, Lord, we have a place. But when we moved there the next night, we're stuck in this. It doesn't even have windows. It's
down
beds.
the street. It's not
downstairs,
even near the castle.
And I'm complaining and murmuring, going, "Why would you bring this in here?" I mean, what a spoiled brat. Just absolutely spoiled brat. And I'm saying, well, we had such a view of the castle, and now we can't see anything but each other. And so we're there, and the lady's talking to us. That one night, that Saturday night, we're there, and she's talking to us. She says, "Well, so are you going to go see the castle?" And I said, "Well, sure. We're here. We might as well go see the castle, take a tour of the castle." She says, "Well, once a year this was Ludwig's castle, and it's a finished castle. When you go in it, it's a finished castle. Not like a dungeon castle." And he has a music room up at the very top.
Concert hall.
That's a concert hall. And once a year, they put on, orchestras come from all over the world, and they do a week's worth of concerts up there. Black tie, invitation only, and people come from all over the world to go to this. You would probably love that. And I said, "Oh my gosh, we love music. We really have a special love for music." But there's like 1,400 people on the waiting list just in the villages around here.
But don't forget the important thing is when she said, and we were just talking and we were in the music business, had been, and we were sharing that, when she said, oh, you know, and then she told us about the concerts that go on once a year up there and with waiting lists from forever. But when the minute she said that, the private concerts up in that, that's when you turned and looked at me, and prophetically you said, that's what God has for you. You were going to be willing to just sit in a park in Vienna and hear Strauss waltzes. God's going to put you up in a king's castle at a private concert and hear them. And I just started to cry. I was like,
you can't outgive him. What he asks from you, give it, and quickly give it, because you will not get before him and glory before him. You won't say, but I gave you this, Lord. What did you give me? No, it's not going to happen, not 1%. So I had a knowing sense of that. So we go on a tour of the castle. We see the music room, how incredible it is, but we don't know the week that the concert for that year is already done, and it's gone. But I knew that in the Lord. I knew that he was going to give that to her. So it's all done. We say goodbye. The trip is over. There's lots of stories that we're not telling you that took place and miracles. But we come back home. 6 months later, the lady calls us. And she says, did you still want to go to that concert in the Ludwig's Castle? I said, I'd love to. And she said, well, the mayor has given up his tickets.
I got the mayor and his wife to give up their tickets.
If you would like to go, you can come. So we went. We went back, black tie, and we sat in the music castle. The castle was ours for the evening. And we sit with the orchestra from Russia.
Let me just tell this part. So we're...
Notice how obedient I was there? That was good, wasn't it?
We already talked.
Guys, learn from that.
We already talked about this. Who is going to share what? Because it was enough, the fact that God had arranged something so amazing to just delight my heart, you know, and take me up to this castle where I could have a private concert. I mean, there's only 100 or 200 people up in this. It's a small little room, and everybody's dressed so nicely, and it was very special. And so I'm thrilled as it is, and I'm just ready to weep for the joy of the Lord. And we sit down, and they give us our programs for the night. And I knew it was a Russian orchestra, and I thought, okay, I don't know much about Russian music, but great, you know. So you see the name of the Russian orchestra, and you open the program, and the songs they were performing that night were, the majority of them in the beginning were all Strauss waltzes. The very thing that I'd wanted to just hear in the parks. So we just started weeping with the goodness of God. It was amazing, and there was thunder and lightning going on, and it was just a magical evening that only God can pull off.
So the point of all of this, he revealed to us enormous amount of unbelief, lack of trust. We didn't trust him.
But he was good to us anyway.
He was good to us anyway.
He's loving anyway.
He was faithful. What's the scripture say? He is faithful when we are not.
Faithless.
When we're faithless, he is still faithful. But he was trying to teach us something. He was trying to teach us how to walk by his Spirit in a more intensified time, a 3-week period. He wanted to prove to our daughters the reality of walking in the Spirit, the reality of wherever God takes you, there's victory in it. Wherever the Spirit goes, there's victory.
There's life.
There's life. There's favor. There's power.
There's freedom.
Power of healing. Whatever's needed is there. And that's what he was trying to teach us in a profound way. At the same time, he was trying to teach us something that you can't outgive me. Whatever I ask for you to give up, he who gives up his life for me and my sake will what? Find it. But it requires you giving up your life.
Yeah.
See, we don't want to give up our life. This whole thing is about giving up our life. Becoming a disciple of Christ is giving up your life for him who gave his life up for you and me.
Right.
You understand? That's the bride.
Yeah.
The bride will be like him. He gave up his life as the bridegroom for us. We gave up our life as a bride for him. It's reciprocal. You become one.
Yes.
But not really until that process. So that's a disciple who gives up their life, and he was showing us, if you give it up, I will give back to you greater. Because I know then,
far
if you will
greater.
give it up, it doesn't hold your heart. If it's only when I ask you to give something up and you won't give it up, then I know there's idolatry in the heart. Then I know that's something I have to take from you.
Oh,
And you can
that's
either
more
offer it
painful.
to me at the altar when I ask for it, or I can take it. But
He
it's much
showed
more
me.
painful.
He showed me that lesson a long time ago in the beginning of this walk, and he's always been gentle with me. You know, it's kind of like raising your own children. You know, some you just kind of give a firm word to and they get it. Others take more. And I'm like, Lord, I don't want to have a big spanking. So I remember he showed me that one time, that very principle, and it really made a lot of sense to me as I was clutching something in my hand. And he showed me that, and said to me, he said, BJ, you can either open it and let me take it, offer it to me, or I'll pry your fingers open and take it from you. And I just felt the extra pain involved in that. It was painful enough as it was. So it was like, no, willingly, Lord, willingly, I hand it over. And it's a better way to go.
He only has good for us. He loves us. Even the trials and the severe trials, there's always love behind it.
It's all love.
We can't see it
all
when
love.
we're in it because it can be painful. But even the suffering, there's love behind it. And you begin to experience the depth of His love in it. He says, he who delights himself in the Lord, He will give the desires of their heart. But the key is, will you delight yourself first in the Lord, or will you delight yourself first in what you want? If you delight yourself first in what He wants, He gives back the desires of our heart. Make sense? Okay. When we come back on the next one, we'll start dealing with the next one, which is stretching. Stretching. He's got to, in order to make this straight, to be like that, the process requires now a stretching, which is part of His
Because
process.
the fire makes it pliable. Now it can be stretched.
Correct. Good point. The fire is what makes it pliable, and now it can be stretched. That's the next stage. See you next time.